is making a comeback.
Wow, what a mess is about all one can say about the situation in Venezuela these days under the brutal socialist dictator Nicolas Maduro. Now a plot involving a U.S. company and an insurgent group headed up by the man who wants to overthrow Maduro has been basically crushed like a bug. 2 Americans remain in custody along with a group of others in this failed coup attempt. What happens next and where do we go from here? For that, we turn to Liberty Nation's military correspondent. Joining me now is David Patterson. Hi, Dave, and welcome to Truth TV.
Hi, Lisa. Great to be with you.
All right, so can you give us a brief rundown of what happened here?
Well, from what we know, and it's kind of a mixed bag of information, a fellow by the name of Jordan Goudreau, through his company Silver Corp USA out of Florida, hired a couple of former special operators, Luke Denman and Aaron Berry, to train, organize, and accompany a small band of approximately 50 to 60 Venezuelan army defectors. And he was to lead an uprising. And they were going to go to the capital and kidnap President Maduro and take him to the airport and then fly him to the United States. What could go wrong, right?
I can't imagine. Do you think this is a CIA operation?
Oh, not at all. Nor do I believe any other government agency, any U.S. government agency was involved. I believe Secretary of State Pompeo and Secretary of Defense Esper, when they emphatically deny that any government organization, U.S. government organization, was involved. I kind of like what one U.S. government official said, that if this had been a U.S.-led operation, Maduro would be facing the Southern District of New York Court and probably on drug charges.
That's very funny because I believe that was Pompeo that said that. I heard him say that. He said we would have done it better. But there are lots of players in this, but little in the way of results.
Well, that is a problem, and it generally happens when you have these soldier of fortune operations, pickup team operations that really only go well in Hollywood and Tom Clancy books.
All right, you talked yesterday a little bit about possible involvement with Colombia, Russia. How does this work?
Well, I understand that Colombia is where this team trained, but Colombia has a vested interest. They want to see Venezuela stopped from being a transshipment point for drugs going to the United States and elsewhere. And then you have Russia, China, and Cuba propping up Maduro. So if you're going to discuss Venezuela, it's what do you do with Maduro, and they have to be in the calculus.
All right, now, why is this guy so hard to get rid of?
Well, for one thing, he has a very loyal army. He has entrenched believers in what he does because he pays them well. And you also have, again, this idea that you have Russia and China and Cuba all there propping him up, and very few people are going to take them on.
Do you think this coup attempt didn't work because it was just too Mickey Mouse or too small or all of the above?
I think it didn't work because it was ill-conceived, poorly planned, and certainly didn't have the right level of security that's necessary for one of these things to take place. I mean, after all, you had fishermen who conveniently were in place, but not just fishermen, patriotic fishermen who noticed this operation going on and then notified the authorities.
Yeah, and they ran out of fuel for their boat. They didn't have enough fuel, etc. Do you think we'll get the Americans back?
Well, now it's up to the State Department, as so many of these failed operations end up being. And they're going to be having to negotiate to get our U.S. citizens back. But one of the complicating factors, Lisa, is the fact that we don't have a diplomatic mission in Venezuela. And so consequently, we're going to have to go through intermediaries to do the negotiating.
Yeah, that's really going to be tricky. Any final words on this, Dave?
Well, I think this is a cautionary tale for soldiers of fortune who think they can represent the U.S. to go and do these kinds of things, because it seldom works out well.
Amen and amen. Thank you very much. That's David Patterson, our Liberty Nation Military Affairs correspondent. Thanks so much for joining us on Truth TV today, Dave.
Thank you, Lisa. Enjoyed it.
Truth is making a comeback.